The 15th chapter of this book is dedicated to the history of West Africa, which has a very different story than that of its counterpart in East Africa. West Africa has a large number of Muslim empires that were much more focused on land routes across the Sahel and even through the Sahara Desert. With empires like Mali and Ghana and Songhai, they built huge kingdoms that swallowed up the surrounding lands. They were also famous for their great wealth and for their extremely high levels of scholarship and learning. And perhaps the most famous person and king of these lands was Mansa Musa, who was often said to have been the wealthiest person to have ever lived. And then you had the Sokoto Empire, led by Dan Fodio, a scholar and a warrior who spread Islam deep into Nigeria and the surrounding lands. You also had empires like Kanem Bornu in Chad, which may have been the longest lasting Muslim empire in all of history, perhaps even longer lasting than the Ottomans. But perhaps the strangest twist in the story of West Africa is how one of the greatest tragedies of our history spread Islam way beyond the known world. Because when the European powers were captured and buying and exporting slaves to the Americas, we often forget where they were taking these slaves from. And that was Central Africa, and in particular West Africa. So between 15 to 30% of all slaves brought over from Africa were Muslims from places like Senegal and Mali and Nigeria and Ghana, all lands with huge Muslim populations. And many of these slaves, they were Muslim scholars even, and huffaz of the Quran, people that were much more educated than most of their European masters, many of which who couldn't even read or write. And interestingly enough, the Muslim slaves from these lands ended up becoming the most valuable and also the most expensive because of that. Regardless, anyway, this began the history of Islam in the Americas, with huge populations of Muslims ending up in Brazil and the Caribbean. This also led to strange new religions, like the Nation of Islam, for example, in the US, which used a lot of like Islamic names and terms in an attempt to sort of like regain their lost Islamic roots. And this, of course, led to Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali, both of which eventually converted to the true Islam. And they brought Islam to the masses in the US. But I'll cover most of that history in the last chapter of this book. So if you're interested in the book, go to my website and pre-order the book now. I'll literally write your name into the book as an honor for you being the first or one of the first and original backers of this project. But this is only for the people who pre-order the book during this Ramadan only. May Allah honor your name with a legacy that the ummah will never forget. And may the generations of people who read this book hundreds of years from now know that it was you who was the reason that this book could even exist in the first place. Ameen.